Hello everyone, I'm going to be going through the 13 5 fret songs left that are still UnFCed at 150% speed. So this is across all games now. The previous videos have been specific to one sort of section of it, be that Rock Band Network or DLC or even a game itself. This is like everything, so we've actually miraculously made it down to 13, which is way lower than I would have expected it to really ever go, or at least in the 5 years the sheet has existed. We're pretty much almost there. So yeah, I'm not gonna do it by difficulty like I've done with other ones. I'm just gonna go through which songs are left per section or game, if you will. So we'll start off with Guitar Hero 3. Now there's only one thing here that's left, and that's it's a DLC song, and that would be Operation Ground and Pound, which has been hanging about for a very long time. And there's a few reasons why it's not. I don't think anyone considers it like the hardest of the Dragon Force songs. It just hasn't been done yet, basically. So I've got my sections here that I'm going to show. One of the main things this is notable for is poor forcing, and that is evident in, I believe, these sections here, chorus 1A and 2A. Also, you'd probably want a rake. Just in general. So you see there's weird random hammer-ons in there, and that happens in the second 2A as well. So yeah, you'd have to be a very good standard drummer or have a rake to try this. So it's forced differently, and still no use for those hammer-ons, no reason for them to be there. It's just no one really knows why they're there. But anyway, the actual stuff that's difficult fretting wise, this is pretty underrated, I think, this section, but it's not too bad really. Then we got the solo, which is obviously a far cry from what it is on Rock Band, but it's still tricky enough. So a lot of pretty slow trills really. Some great smoke stuff like that. The worst stuff is probably 1E right here. Oh, I guess not 1E. Keep soloing. But just that kind of transition there is pretty tricky. And then this riff right here is probably the worst riff in the song. Once again, random forcing errors. Also, as always, I'm not one, but so I apologize for any sort of poor playing. And then pretty weird solo here. Then also the very end could be argued to be, well, definitely one of the worst parts. Mainly because this transition I find. So the very last thing in the song is pretty tricky actually. If you're a fast one-hander, you can probably just do it though. I don't know. I'm not going to try and do excellent runs or anything. But that's GH3 OGAP, and the only song from GH3 that we have left to do. The next section is GH DLC, and there's only one song here too, and that is Dueling Banjos. And this was Guitar Hero World Tour DLC. This is also the 2 of 2 for Guitar Hero, so there's only 2 songs left for Guitar Hero at all, besides Band Hero DS, which isn't even ripped, and it wouldn't take long to do that. But yeah, 2 songs left in Guitar Hero at all. It's been that way for a little bit, quite a bit of time as well actually. So a lot of this song is hard. It doesn't just boil down to the raking bit at the end. So that sort of riff appears 3 times or however many times throughout the song. It's not obviously not going to be the hardest thing you've ever seen. And then we have the big solo, which is not that bad, but it's pretty notable. Well, I say it's not that bad, but actually the strumming bit at the end is pretty rough. The rest of this stuff is fine though if you know, took a second to learn it. But here's the raking. Actually, could be okay. These first two raking bits probably shouldn't be too bad. I think they change on pretty consistent strums. Oh, actually no, I misremembered. That last one is actually a bit weird. But obviously the main reason why this isn't done is building it up. Which I think has still not been hit. At least if it has, I'm not aware. I know Chad has overstrummed it at least. I mean, not too hard to overstrum it really, but yeah. So, all sorts of different changes for the strumming. No real break is going to make it easy. So yeah, you would need to be top breaker really, maybe the best one. And that's Dueling Banjos and that's Guitar Hero. Now we move on to RB3 DLC. Now there's 4 songs here. We start off with Child into... All of these are bad. These 4 could be argued to be the worst 4, like all of them. On the breakdown, the top 3 are all Rock Band 3 DLC. This isn't one of them, though it could be. Child in Time. So you start off with the solo, which is very long. See, almost 1,000 notes in it alone. Probably does have 1,000 notes, but I'm just skipping solo there because it is easy. And this song is normally 10 minutes, so it's 6:40. At 1:50. One E is the worst of the solo. I mean, yeah, it's just very messy and unconventional. Not all of it is that. I mean, most of it is pretty doable. It's really just 1 C and 1 E. And then 1 G probably isn't even worth showing, but we're here, so I might as well. So that's the solo, and the rest of the song outside of the solo is so easy and boring, like it's very unappealing to go for. But then we have why it's not done, because if it was just a solo it would be done, no doubt. So there's that, the BRE, right at the end, 6 minutes 32 in. At least I can say now that this has been hit. It's not impossible to do. Gravel hit it a couple of times the other day, at least. So it's learnable and doable, but with the rest of the song being so unappealing to go for, it's sort of... I'm not surprised no one has tried this really at all. And that's Child in Time. Next up we have Operation Ground and Pound, which, as I already referred to, is harder than the GH3 DLC version. So we got our first taste of what this is like with Solo 1. I'm going to be lazily raking through a lot of stuff right now. straight away we get that, which not too bad on Clone Hero, right? I mean, the same thing goes for all 3 Dragon Force songs that are on here, that you need to have either a rake or be like one of the best standard strummers to do these songs. So I'm not going to be showing every riff or anything. And then solo 3. And then obviously what we have is pretty much all this stuff. Solo 4, everyone knows it really. Probably could have stood to just change the A section in solo 4A, but whatever. Very methodable. However method, I mean, people can do that nowadays. Some sort of like skip tapping or whatever. But it is still, you know, really difficult. And 40 is tricky. Then we have the same riff issues that we had in GH3. This thing is really bad. Much worse here. You gotta figure that out before you even want to think about going to this song. And solo 5 is, I don't know, still tricky. Okay, and then we got the end again, which is, I think, easier. If I use my head, I can hit this part right here. I think that's easier, but it's still very chokeable. So OGAP, I think, clearly harder. The harder of the 2 versions are. Everyone knows it anyway. You will know all these songs. Most of them anyway. So, I'm sort of preaching to the choir by showing this stuff, but whatever. And somehow the hard drive unplugged. Okay, thank you. That's just what I wanted. Anyway, yeah, next, Pulse of the Maggots. Obvious, everyone knows why. It's going to be very quick to show. Yep, disgraceful. And then the outro. Thing is with Bottom, you know, you could probably find some speed to rake through or strum through, and then just rely on your one-handing to do something like this. Not to say it's easy, but I guess it's approachable at least, you know. You're gonna have some sort of pathway to figuring it out, at the very least, but there's no need to dwell on that. It's obviously very hard. And then the last of the Rock Band 3 DLC is Through the Fire and Flames, which I had as number 1, but who knows, honestly, what the actual hardest is. Impossible to say. But yeah, Flames, the hardest chart of it, definitely, to do at 150, and I think just in general. So I'm not going to show everything, but same thing with OGAP, you need to be very good at standard strumming. Hard stuff exists outside of the stuff I'm showing. So anyway, there's a very quick transition there. So I'm not going to show anything between here, but no, there's tricky stuff here, like interlude B. But I mean, the solo, right? This is why it's quite unbelievable to go for. I mean, really, it's sort of, you know. I Nowadays, that is not looking so bad, but I mean, it's still ridiculous. When that's like, you know, one section within like 100 difficult parts. So that's the solo of Flames. And then we got this. For some reason the first thing is missing from this section. If you're going for this song, you're probably not going to be missing the outro, let's be honest. But it's still there, and who knows what you like on the nerves. And just as a point, you know, the fast riff is all forced there, but for some reason at the beginning it's not. So this is clearly just a chart error. I guess it's not going to make the song any harder, but I guess it's a little bit interesting. But yeah, Through the Fire and Flames, everyone knows why it's hard. But yeah, that's all it is. I almost don't really have to make any comments besides showing it. Anyway, that's Rock Band 3 DLC. Next we have Rock Band Network 1, which also has 4 songs. The first one alphabetically, a slight amplification. Some people say this is the worst. Might be. I mean, who am I to say, really? I'll get my sections version. So, the riff. Very tricky, and there's 2 verses like that, but obviously the main thing is this. Which is horrendous, and yeah, solo 2 is chokeable. But realistically not that bad. Yeah, it's a solo one, that strumming bit. I don't think I've seen anyone hit the strumming bit. There's no way it would be the hardest all strums bit ever hit, but the strumming is very fast. I feel like it's probably like 21 to 22 notes per second at its fastest. Not for that long, but fast enough, especially when you're fretting at the same time. It's just extremely difficult. But yeah, slight amplification is there. Alpha Strike is the next. Some progress made on this, but not really any FC runs. Why? Why? Just why? Oh my gosh, I'm sick of this now. Didn't touch the hard drive wire. Are we really gonna do this right now? I swear down. I'm done, I swear down. What are you doing? Okay, Alpha Strike. And probably want to be hitting it at 150, and sheesh, man. Okay, so the main reason for this is just the whole middle section. Oh yeah, the first solo is has this thing. So if you don't like orange walls, then you're not going to like that. But it's not the worst part. The worst part is definitely this whole middle section. I feel like that's the worst part. Some dreadful transitions. Obviously you can just move the drills like I was doing there. And breaking to end off. After that there's nothing hard. Song ain't too long either. None of these songs are actually that long. Well, I say none, but if I go down, you know, the Dragon Force songs, Child in Time, they're pretty much the longest ones. The rest of them aren't long songs. And I guess Nyland is also pretty long, but yeah. None of them are horrifically long. The only one where length is going to make an extreme difference is Child in Time, because it's so dull. Anyway, My Parasite, one of the easiest ones left, but there's only 13, so it's not saying too much. But I mean, it's hard to argue, I think. Riff based for sure. We start off with this right here. So those riffs pretty consistently appear throughout the song. Then we have the fast strumming riff. Which is figure-outable, but it's still pretty fast. That happens twice, I think, maybe 3 times. And then we got the solo, which has a quick transition into it. Some mysterious misses right now. Worst part of it is the end, which you can figure out or just sort of flail. Either one will probably work, and it goes all the way to the end. This song is pretty relentless. So yeah, the last Evil song, and Time No More is definitely harder than that, so it should be getting done at some point. Nihilanthe is the last of RBN 1. We know why, and it's just going to be the same thing I've shown a million times before, but we'll go ahead and do it again. It's, I guess we can note at this point, there has been substantial progress on this, by VM at least. So it looks like it could be done, if effort was put in. Doesn't mean it's not difficult though. Pretty notable part here. Gets pretty rough towards the end of that, like Jordan bit. That's pretty tricky. And then solo 2, kind of tricky. 3 is one of the easiest ones. 4 is also pretty tricky, pretty much the same as 2. Then 5, which is fast. If you have the muscle memory for 5 and the speed, then it's not too bad really. And 6 is the worst. By most people's eye. And this riff, man, it will get you. 7 and 8 are easy. arguable transition there, but not really. And then 9. And then the strumming at the end, which is pretty easy with the 2-2 to be fair. If you're standing it, that's pretty risky. So yeah, the Gauntlet song, I mean I've shown it enough times, but yeah, it's still very hard, but apparently doable. But it's understandable why it's not done. That's Rock Band Network 1. Rock Band Network 2 is our final section, and there's 3 songs left here. The first one is The End of Progress, which may be the biggest sleeper to still be left at this point. It's either that or My Parasite, I think. So yeah, it's really a one-section song, the only one of its kind, actually. That thing. No, it's difficult to know how to approach this. I kind of want to do it decently. But that's not going to happen, so whatever. You see, you just kind of have to RNG through it if you're raking, and if you're standard strumming, it's so ridiculously fast. And then Jam 3D is kind of tricky as well. Definitely a big choke spot. So people have hit Jam 3C, but it's not very... it's just so, like, you know... It's such a random chance of hitting it that it's almost not worth going for. But it's possible, you know. Gambit is next. Pretty much all over the shop. Need a rake. Because of this bit right here. Actually not as easy as it seems to rake that either because of the single notes. You could probably figure it out though, let's see what we can, if you were going for it. And then the ladders, which are scattered throughout the song. There's however many of them, I think there's 4 or 5. Then we got the guitar solo. Oh, well, definitely not a guitar, but labeled as such. So, figure out a method for that. Doable. But yeah. I'll just showcase more. There's a lot of stuff. I had to hit 1. Okay, and then the solo end is the same as solo 1. So there's a lot thrown at you in this song. I said it was the hardest of Rock Band Network 2. It might be at this point that's left. Whether it is the hardest ever is another debate, but yeah, it's still here. Finally, we have we end up with the easiest song, pretty much objectively, Omega Wave, which is still very hard, but has to be the easiest. So we have this riff, which the best example is what? Chorus 1 in B, maybe. Yeah, really too many sections in this song. I'll just play a whole chorus to show you what it's like. Yeah, the riffs are really bad in this song. Just because of those random like hammer-on bits at the end. And then that's not the end of the story, we still got the solo as well, which is difficult. But not the world's hardest solo. One A is kind of tricky, but the real main difficult part is C, which you can very lazily spam through like that, or you can learn if you want to be, I don't know, good. Yeah, and it ends with the riffs again. It's just, those riffs appear a ton of times throughout the song, and that's a 13. So I tried to be as quick as I could. Still took about half an hour, but whatever. That's gonna be the last video in terms of 5 fret. I think there's just no 5 fret guitar anywhere. No real reason to make another one, unless maybe there's like 5 left, which would be so far in the future that it would barely even matter. So yeah, that's that. Progress, even to get to 10 left, it's going to be extremely hard. You know, the pathway Omega Wave should go really sometime soon. That's like by far the easiest, but then everything else is such a big step above. There's a pathway there, I guess, you know, but it's difficult. Anyway, that's that. So there you go. Okay, so while I'm here, I might as well go through the 16 UnFCed keys songs at 150% speed for Rock Band Network. I mean, specifically Rock Band Network 2, but RBN 1 had no keys anyway, so we might as well all encompass it and say for all of Rock Band Network. And while I'm talking about that, key sheet is very close to being fully weeded actually. So Rock Band 3 and Blitz are both done, full game FC'd. Rock Band Network obviously weeded, that's why I'm making this. And then Rock Band 3 DLC is it's sort of like just under a third of the way done, and that's the final section to be weeded for keys. So there was only about 1,000, but there's something like 300 left. So yeah, that's the progress of the key sheet anyway. So I'll go through all the songs. I'm going to do it from easiest to hardest by my eye, but this is obviously a bit of a pointless breakdown because they're always subjective, but you know, we'll do it anyway. So the first song is going to be Rampage of Kronos, which I knew this song already. I didn't know exactly how hard it was going to be on keys, but it's pretty tricky to be fair. Mainly because of the solo, but we've got this fast riff part that happens twice. So that's not too bad, but it's there. Then keyboard solo B is where really the tricky stuff is. So yeah, I have methoded it out. The song is like 4 minutes and this is like almost 3 minutes into it or something like that. So the current, I mean, I guess while I'm here, the weeding of the keys, it's not like these are all as hard as the previous videos I've made about like Rock Band Network 1 guitar and that sort of stuff. They were harder. This stuff, a lot of this stuff is kind of easier. Like, I can see it getting done pretty quickly, but you know, 16 songs is not too many to go through. Anyway, that's Rampage. Transformation Part 1. One section to show here. I didn't play this in full, but this has got to be the hardest section, I figure. If it's not, then this song could probably go higher up. But just check these chords out. So kind of a bit easier than the Deceiver, but that's further in, 2 minutes in. And the whole song is 3:37, actually not too long, I thought it was longer, oh well. But yeah, Transformation, chord song, Hopos at least, not as bad as the Deceiver. Chameleon Carnival is next. And this is a very typical, you know, shredded guitar song. Not as bad as other Andromeda songs, obviously. It's doable. Synth Solo C is the worst of it. In terms of the actual solo. The thing is with a lot of these songs is that if you wanted to be really lazy, you could probably just moose the majority of them. Because you'll see a lot of them are difficult for the same reasons. This is the worst part of the song right here. So if you want to method that, that's as bad as it gets. It's not too bad. I mean, the solo starts a minute in. Clearly doable by my eye. Next up we have the first of the K-Trop songs, Synesthesia, which is basically one section. It doesn't have the trill like guitar, although it appears like it's going to, which is why I was worried at first, but it's not as bad. So yeah, Solo B is a money here. So this is another one I've got methoded out. It's just that whole zig part with the weird part afterwards. It's pretty quick, and almost 3 minutes into the song. So one of the longer ones to get to the hard part anyway. But the easiest K-Trop left, I would say. Quite a few K-Trop songs in a row actually. The next is the Thief Parts 1 and 2. I said part 1 might be easier, might be harder. They're probably about the same, to be honest. But the guitar solo pretty much is mirrored in the key solo here, so let's demonstrate that. The things with keys, it doesn't have the horrible risk that a guitar does. So that's why it's so easy, you can just moose. And that's that's what's hard about that. Thief Part 2 is much of the same. The guitar solo is mirrored on keyboard, except we don't even get the ladders here, and solo B is easier. It's night and day difference without that transition. Still get that janky bit at the end, but that is now the hard part, at least. I guess the trill if you don't have the speed, but you can always slide that, there's no transition anymore. So yeah, Thieves Part 1 and 2, much easier than the guitar counterparts, but still tricky. Next up we have the only rhythm guitar chart left, not that there's many to begin with, but the Jewel by Ben Fisher. And the solos, you know, they're there, but I think the main reason this is hard is because of the riff. I don't know if this is the same as it is on guitar. The fact that that's unforced just makes that really ugly to do, but that's pretty much the extent of why it's difficult, at least. Alright, we get some pretty famous songs now. Next up we have Dream Chaser. Now, I put this as the easiest of the, well, 4 Ambient Dawn songs that are left, because it would normally be the big 5 keys for Ambient Dawn, but City of Corruption is done, so we've at least got that going. Dream Chaser, the shortest of them, and also there's like very few random songs, so just go full loose happy, you know. See, we're not even trying, I hit it. It's not necessarily going to be a good FC, but you know. Maybe it sort of questions why we're doing this in the first place if it's just going to be all unimpressive most FCs, but that's argument for another day. Anyway, that's Dream Chaser. A lot of these Keys songs are just one section songs because the general nature of Keys is that a lot of it's just sustains and then they have a synth solo. So yeah, Singularity though, not really like that. This is a very active song. Throughout, it's much like the other K-Trop songs we covered. It mirrors guitar, except that this time it might actually be harder as opposed to easier. So we got the reappearance of that bit. But this time we have this very strange part, which I guess you can spam through. What can't you in this game? So I think the strumming isn't mirrored here. Not that that was ever the hard part, but you know. But Melody B is the same. and so is bridge 2B. So there you go. Pretty much the same as a Guitar FC, maybe a little bit more difficult. Next up we got Blackbird, which is much like Dream Chaser, just the solo. In fact, all Ambient Dawn songs are the same, easy except for the solo. This solo is probably worse though, if you want to moose it. There's just less friendly patterns. I mean, who is going to method this though? You got to ask yourself. If someone does, then fair enough. But, you know, just no one's going to, I don't think. Blackbird followed by Ghostly Echoes. This one's up higher because of the zig, pretty much. Looking at that again, that might be easier than Blackbird. But it is longer than Blackbird at least. So yeah, Ghostly Echoes. And then War in Heaven just to finish off all of Ambient Dawn. This is the top 5 now. Not that that really matters. Longest keys solo could be the most awkward as well. At 115. Okay, here it comes. Pretty vile. Two badly placed random strums there. Keyboard solo 3, the worst section of it, definitely. The rest of it, honestly, not too terrible. But this is the longest Ambient Dawn song, I think, even in the game, but left as well. So yeah, 3.5 minutes to get to that. Next up, Chiasm. Not solo 2D this time, but solo 1, so if you could do Chiasm guitar 150, you could very easily do this. So yeah, just do whatever you do. And then 2D starts off the same, then it gets easy. So there you go. So I think I could probably, if I tried my hardest, get everything but these top 3. And these top 3, well, number 3, Heavy Weather, is its own league, and then the top 2, you already know what they are, like, it's laughable. So this song hits you straight away with a ton of bricks with this thing. So you could either try and one-hand that or do some elbow method, but it lasts double in a guitar solo, so however you're doing it, make sure you're good. That's Heavy Weather. And then the top 2, Another Step and Veil is number 1, but I think Another Step is easier. Reasoning for this is that there's not as many random strums. So yeah, just incredibly fast. And then that strum in there, I mean, my gosh. There's actually one in Jam C as well, though Jam C is definitely the easiest of the 3. Section Jam B is nothing. So yeah, that's Another Step. What it looks like at 150, and then Veil, pretty much definitely the hardest. Veil Part 2. So pretty much just 1 in that's the only real impossible section. Those are the tricky ones, but for the purposes of unFCability. There's one here. So yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Let's just see that again. So that's what we got to deal with. 3 random stums in there, 2 of which are right next to each other. So something looking like elbow, tackle rake, whatever the hell it's called. So I think there is hope, but I mean, how much hope? I don't know. It's absurd, but you already knew that anyway. Well, the good thing about Veil is that the hard part is only 20 seconds into the song, so it's got that going for it. If it was much further in, I don't think there would be any hope. So yeah, keys, could it be done? Maybe. It depends on the top 3 really, and even then, heavy weather can certainly be done, right? It depends on whether anyone can do Veil or another stuff. As far as DLC goes, as long as we get it forced correctly, nothing in there is going to be unFCable. So for the keys list to be completely done, it would depend on these 3 songs, I believe. Yeah, so relatively brief, but I didn't want to spend too long going through these keys songs. So yes, there we go. I'll probably do another keys one if, you know, when Rock Band 3 DLC gets weighted out. I mean, unless it all gets done, in which case there would be no need. Anyway, yes, there we go. See you later.